6 o'clock, so I'll, the meeting is called to order. Thank you, Brett, for the layout here for me. May we have a roll call, please?
Roger Coleman,
Here?
Russell Johnson,
Here.
Hunter Anderson,
Here.
Natasha Lipke,
Here.
Stephen Hardgrove, James Keary,
Here.
Andrew Miller, Wiley O'Neill. Oh,
Here.
Thank you.
Yeah. Toby Linhart,
Here.
Stephen Hardgrove,
Turn on the microphone. Thank you. Do we have any? Okay. To no comments, we'll move on. No consent calendar, so let's move on to staff reports and general information. Reports from staff, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Cameron Ferguson. I'm currently assigned to captain of the patrol side of Newburgh Dundee Police Department. I've provided everybody, I'm missing one copy for Toby unless he got a copy for the crash data within the city. And then also along with that has the DUIs. Both of these reports go back to January 1 of 2026. So just this current year. I'm working with Dave Brooks from IT to map more specifically areas where we have multiple crashes to kind of show more trends. It's going to be much easier than reading down this list. Currently, our data system has been upgraded, and with any good upgrade, it's not working. So we're working through it. So in the future, I'll have a map with maybe some targeted problem areas. So we're not having to read through line for line. You'll see the dark gray highlights or the light gray highlights. Those are Newburgh specific injury crashes. A lot of them say Newburgh, but they're out in the county. We just responded, so it just gets tagged to a Newburgh unit. So I highlighted the injuries, and I would say about 75% of these are head, neck pain kind of things where they're just saw by medics at the scene and then moved on, not a transport of any type. So luckily, we don't have very many major crashes where we have, significant injury. So if there's any questions on that, I'll be happy to take them. Anyone wants to see anything differently, please just let me know. I'll move to Newburgh Dundee Police Department observed traffic issues. I'll start by saying that we've had a wonderful spring. And so we're getting inundated with speeders in neighborhoods. And we're moving our radar trailers around, and we have purchased another system that also monitors traffic. As we know, 95% of those, probably even more, probably 99% of those are in the ranges of 25 to 30 miles an hour. It seems fast in a neighborhood. There's always going to be the one off that's doing 40, and that's just going to have to be in the right spot at the right time. But very, very few trends are we seeing that show that we have a significant speeding issue in areas where people have called and requested such services. So I know we did some down off of Fernwood in the Oaks neighborhood. We did some on the Greens. We've done some on Dayton Avenue. We've done some up on Villa in the north end as well. And I think there is 4 other neighborhood roads that are in the queue currently to have our radar trailer moved. So when those radar trailers go out, everyone understand how those work. Yeah, it blinks at you, tells you your speed, but it also records that data. And sometimes they don't have anything showing. We do that intentionally because we're recording data, and so people don't see their speed. Just trying to be a little more stealthy about that. The 2 units that we've purchased now strap onto poles, and they're very, most people don't even know they're there. So we pole mount them, and all that does is just gather data for us, amount of vehicles and speeds. Issues we continue to have issues with are Springbrook, Portland Road through 219. Cars going to the bypass on Friday nights. It's not uncommon for both Portland Road and Fernwood to be blocked. People running red lights, stopping in intersections, and keeping any traffic from moving. We see that most frequently Friday nights. We'll start seeing it on Thursdays now, and then also Sundays. We'll have coast traffic heading back to the city. So we continue to try to push for a red light and speed cam at Springbrook and Portland Road. ODOT has not been very open to the idea, although we used to have one years ago. They call us, I forget, a class 3, or we're just outside Sherwood. And so we're one class lower. So they're not seeing any significant reason to have one. With that said, we're starting to see more crashes at Portland Road and Providence in that intersection, because that's 45. It jumps down from 55 to 45. It's too fast. So another thing we're seeing. And unless there's questions, that's all we have to report on right now.
I just have a comment. I'm on the Oregon Transportation Safety Committee. And so we interface with ODOT on things. And one of the things I brought up that I'd like to see on our agenda is a discussion from ODOT on their criteria for establishing where red light cameras and speed cameras can be installed. So hopefully we'll get some interpretation from them.
Yeah, Roger, I appreciate that, and met with you a couple months ago with the chief, and we've met with ODOT. We have a new public works director who also has some ties and some connections at ODOT. So any angle we can take to try to get this to happen would be beneficial to the city, we believe.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here, and the report is something we've been asking for a while, and we do appreciate this. And
I'll go on the record. I'll normally be in uniform. I was at my
that would be a little difficult, all right. Yeah. Any questions? Yes.
I have a question. How often do car crashes, specifically in Newburgh, involve pedestrians or cyclists?
That's a good question. Most of our pedestrian type crashes involving a person on foot or bike will happen in the downtown grid. And that's because of people not understanding crosswalk laws, or stopping when another car stopped at the crosswalk. So we'll have people 3 lanes wide. Car will stop, people will start to go, and the cars in the second and third lane aren't understanding the laws or seeing the people. And so we'll have those type of accidents. One fear we do have is with all these kids running around on these electric scooters now, I have a feeling we're going to start seeing more crashes involving children and the electric scooters, because the laws just have not caught up to the technology and the bicycles of today.
Is there a protocol in place for, you're saying you're really advocating for a signal light at Springbrook and 99. What are the criteria for getting a signal light there, or if there are any?
Well, normally what we would do is we would apply, because it's an ODOT road, it's 100% up to ODOT. It's not up to us. We have the ones at Villa and Portland Road that was in the city, that's kind of somewhat under our control. And so we were able to get the lights put there. We're seeing significant numbers. Surprisingly, I don't think any of us were expecting the numbers we're seeing as far as, red lights and even speed at night. There's another camera that will be going into play at First and Main, which will be speed eastbound. So coming from Dundee into the downtown grid. So we've I know for a fact the chief has had at least 3 face-to-face meetings with ODOT. We went out to the intersection with ODOT and sat at the bank there in the southeast corner, showing him the situation. And they keep telling us we just don't meet the criteria for us to put a camera on ODOT at that ODOT intersection.
Do they tell you what the criteria are?
Well, yeah, I mean, there are size of city, which then breaks it down into a grid. And so, like I said, there's stage 1, which would be metropolitan, and there'll be stage 2, which they consider Sherwood. And then we're a stage 3. And so we're outside of that grid. So we're very low. I think there's only 4 or 5 groups. And so we're in the mid to lower section. So they don't think there is the traffic crashes or true speed concerns to justify the need for the traffic lights.
Thank you.
I have one question. Do you think putting a traffic light camera at 99 and Hank Brusher just in front of where you'd like to put one would help keep the traffic slower at the next intersection down?
Yeah, I think that from conversations we've all had, anything north or east, however you want to look at it, of the Springbrook does not qualify. We would like one at Providence and we would like one at Brucher as well, ideally. And yes, and so it's not to make money, it's truly to curb behavior because we have people that just do not pay attention to those red lights.
Yes, Russell Johnson. I wonder if part of that criteria shouldn't be population, but number of vehicles. Because obviously many of the vehicles that go up and down 99 are not part of our community. They're from Sherwood.
Yeah, Russell, I would agree with you wholeheartedly, and hopefully we're able to get some ODOT representation at one of these meetings where we can have a conversation and try to get a better understanding what the criteria are. I can say I've only sat in on one of the meetings with the chief. The other 2, I was not present. So to speak super educated about it, I cannot. But if ODOT could come here and explain that to us, because you're exactly right. We have a population swell on the weekends of people coming through wine tasting and going to the coast. And that's not as apparent during the week. We actually have a decrease in population during the week as most of our residents or people in this area move outside of town to go to work. So Tualatin has a huge swell during the day, during the week because of all the industry they have. Sherwood has the same thing, and we have the opposite effect Monday through Friday.
Just as a comment, in the ODOT is now working through the Oregon Transportation Safety Action Plan. The draft is out. I think the final version comes out in the fall. And one of their things they are working on is the top tier are roadway departures. Number 2 is intersections. Number 3 is speeding. So they're kind of their high criteria areas they want to be working on in the next 5 years. So hopefully we can get some action.
And lastly, I will say I've been dealing with Winooski Road down by Waste Management. That's outside the city. I've been talking with Brett about that, taken several calls. We've now moved all of that. The people that live on Sandoz, all the people I've met with, their information is passed along to the county. We also met with the sheriff and their captains and let them know that while we'll respond to help, the issue is outside of the city, even though it affects the city residents the most. And started to conversate with Brett. And then once we looked at the lines, there's an easement on both sides of Winooski, and we have no jurisdiction on that stretch of road.
I was just curious, like, I'm trying to in my head picture where you were just talking about.
Everyone's not as familiar with the road. So out in front of Waste Management.
Yep.
On Winooski. So they're backing up on Winooski to 219. In the last 2 weekends, it's actually stopped traffic on 219. And people are coming to the shoulder. They're going down Sandoz where there is a roundabout. They're parking on Sandoz, and it's a 45-mile-an-hour zone. And so people coming off Sandoz can't see traffic coming from 219. It's a dangerous situation. I understand their frustrations. I'm sure some of you have heard these calls because we've taken a lot of calls on it over the last 2 months.
Where is the city limit on Winooski there?
So it's just south of the water treatment facility. As you go out towards 219, the water treatment facility on your left, just past that, there's a county line, and I'll be happy to send you all a map. Just south of that, or east, however you want to say it, we lose jurisdiction. It's a county road at that time.
Okay, east, I understand.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I can just add to that, that there on the city's GIS mapping on the website, we have the Traffic Safety Commission map that shows the jurisdictions of the roadways. So where he's talking about the jurisdiction shows up, city line limits are also shown on that and other maps within there. So it's another resource to look at.
I guess I have the question of what about annexing that area into the city just to simplify it all?
Well, we'd like to think this is going to be fixed when the bypass in that area gets changed, because they're going to route Winooski off and there'll be no connection there. So it's just going to make more of a more drastic right turn.
Yes.
And so we think that that will curb the issue as far as the annexing. That's outside of what I know.
Brett, do you have an update on when that intersection might be? They're going to signalize that intersection, aren't they?
Yeah, as far as the bypass, the 2A, the Winooski getting realigned to line up there, that's going to be a signalized intersection when gets completed. So it's progressing.
Yeah.
But I don't have, off the top of the head, I don't have a recollection of what that time frame is. It is on I've sent out some of the information from ODOT on their status updates and things with those emails. So.
Any other questions? Yes.
So the traffic is backing up eastbound to 219, right? I have experienced this. I use that dump quite a bit. I used to work for Waste Management, not here, but in Portland and in Hillsborough. The problem is that the Waste Management staff is not doing anything to redirect traffic. It should be going on west, right? Because there's nothing but neighborhoods back there instead of going to a major highway. In fact, the people get mad at you because, like, I come from Newburgh. I'm not going to go all the way to 219 and come back down. I'm going to go west down Winooski and then just turn right in there. And I've literally been threatened because I'm turning right into Waste Management. And I just tell them 90% of you aren't even from our city. You're coming in from out of town because our fees are less. Is there any way that we could get Waste Management? Because it is their problem. I know at the Hillsborough landfill, they would get fined if it would back up onto the highway, right? To get Waste Management to redirect their traffic to go westbound instead of east towards 219, or fine them.
Yeah, we agree with you. We came up with that same conclusion. There's signage on the south side of Winooski, no parking in front of the businesses. So it's going to have to be up to the county to try to get those signs removed and try to get Waste Management to work at having the lineup come in off a river down Winooski and line up that way. That would alleviate the problem. Also, it's not legal for people to come outside of the county and bring their dump here, and they're not monitoring that and they're not policing that either. I was told by the city manager that several meetings have fallen on deaf ears with Waste Management and that we weren't getting any traction.
It's all about fun.
So I'll add to that we're kind of talking about where the city limits lines are. Waste Management sits in the county. So it would be a county issue to be worked with, and Captain Ferguson would talk about working with the county. That's kind of where that lands. And I would say the observations I have is as well, it's an operational issue that Waste Management has versus even it creates this traffic safety concern and issues, but it's really an operational issue that should be addressed by Waste Management working with the county.
It's currently a county issue, but when that starts to back up towards Winooski and they start going the other way and it's half a mile into Newburgh, then it'll become a city problem when it's on river.
Like I said, it's kind of related to, it's a county issue as far as kind of resolving because of where they're at there. It doesn't mean that it's not a community issue as a whole to be looked at. And so.
I know that Waste Management is coming in on the 18th to give a presentation. I know they often like to ask for rate increases. So I won't be able to be at that meeting, but I will send an email to maybe the mayor. He can ask them about some cooperation.
Yes, well, and welcome, Counselor. Appreciate you coming tonight. I know you have a busy schedule, so. Any other discussion? Please. Again, thank you for being here. Appreciate good conversations and lots of discussions. I appreciate that. Thank you. Public outreach.
So within the public information officer gave me the list of all the postings that she had been working on kind of over the past months. So you can see those within the agenda and that there's a number of issues there. I don't have details on many of those. So, but she is kind of actively working on promoting those things that you had described in the past. She does continue to ask for if there's specific things that you'd like to be promoted. She's open to that. And she does watch for things that ODOT pushes out and other things as well related to traffic safety and those elements. So.
But maybe you don't know, but how do these information get out to the public other than I see sometimes on like Facebook, I believe some of that stuff comes out there, but I'm sure there's other avenues.
Yes, those are pushed out on the various social media platforms as well as the city's website.
Quick question. Is there a mechanism for the Newburgh Police Department to coordinate with the public outreach to highlight sort of key things they're noticing traffic wise?
Well, I don't think there is a mechanism to necessarily tie them together. I know that when we're seeing an issue, for example, I mentioned the scooters, and when we see an issue and we see it growing, we will address it through our social media, but then as well share it with the city. Emily's her name, and so Emily will then put that on their page. We try to coordinate with the library, and we try to get as many social media platforms as we can, knowing that not everybody looks at the police, but some will look at the city or some will look at the library. So amongst the different departments, we try to coordinate amongst ourselves the best we can.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yep.
Any other questions about outreach? Okay. Engineering.
Yeah, so from the engineering standpoint with the traffic safety issues log, we've been making progress on this, kind of given there's a summary within there where we're at. We have kind of with the log, we have the map of the areas and then also the summary, and that's what's showing there within the active issues log. So we've been continuing to knock off some things. We had a number of things that were speeding issues where we needed to collect data. We had purchased similar equipment to what Captain Ferguson was referring that PD has that captures, and they shared across both PD and GIS to gather that data. So we've been able to knock out a lot of those things. And what we're finding is what we're seeing is the perception of speeding definitely is there, but it's in that if it is exceeding the speed limits, it's in the 25 to 30 mile per hour for the most part, but we're continuing to monitoring and gathering data. And areas that we'll see that will drop off of our active issues log when we've identified that does not mean that we're not still aware of those and things that kind of get back into the rotation. We're kind of operating a little independently of what PD does as far as their rotation and radar trailers and the other equipment there, but we're continuing to do that. We also have Keller Associates is working through their work plan of things that we're working through there. We are limited a little bit. They are working on their, they provide the city engineer as a consultant firm, the city engineer services. There's a retainage of description that they work through on a monthly basis to stay within that part of it. So we're not as able to be as robust as we'd like to be, I think, but we are chipping away through the things there. And they have a number of things that are due to me for some internal reviews coming in the next few weeks, and then we'll keep moving those forward. And then here shortly with there's a number of things that have come in new to the log that are not onto their work plan yet, but I will be working by the time of the next meeting. I expect that they'll be into the work plan for Keller for most of those. And a few of the things that we may be able to resolve in other avenues will potentially drop off. And then there are some new ones that have come in. We have some residents in the area along Willa Kinsey that are here. The new one has come in where we had looked at some things there before. And before the Benjamin Road got opened up and had done some speed studies there. And again, we weren't finding anything that warranted immediate action, but now we are kind of getting the concerns are increasing with the parking and speeding in that area. So there's just kind of example of, that's an area that we are getting things in and we're continuing to monitor, and we pass that information on to PD for them to look at as well, both parking and speed related issues.
So we didn't have any public comments, but so I assume you were able to talk to Brett and get your input into him, or?
Well, you're welcome to share. I had the pleasure of speaking with Brett earlier this week, and he's been very responsive and, over last year. We're seeing, as you may know, part of the neighborhood was, they were supposed to be homes and they've now been turned into apartments, and we have new construction coming in. We live on Willakenzie, which has basically been turned into a one-way.
Brett, can you point this area out on our map? Do you know?
So this is the Crestview Crossing area that is across from Providence. It's in that area, in that subdivision there. And
Now, is all of that area in the city, or some of it's in the
that
county?
is all
or-
in the city, all the
It
way
all's
to
in the city,
Benjamin.
yeah.
Benjamin Road is the delineator for
Okay.
the city limits there.
Going to be a real fire hazard.
Yeah.
It's 4 to 5 feet tall down there, new development.
We do have a, well,
My question was be, when you put the speed monitors up, that people, when they see them, probably slow down. So is there a way to do them in a stealth mode? Like they look like they're off, and then people go, oh, that's not working. So I'll just go at the speed I normally would. And you might catch a few more
Yeah,
people
so the
from
radar
going fast.
trailers are visible even when they're turned off and seeing the trailer, that's going to be seen there. These new units are small, pole mounted. They're more
Oh.
like a large trail camera type of a thing is how I think of them. So they're
Okay.
not visible typically.
Oh, good.
I think even just deterrence, for people to. They can get through and access. So I think, like I said, the existing laws and maybe some enforcement and visibility of, parking enforcement would probably go a long ways to addressing those issues without having to do a formal study. And I know everything that, every sign, every paint job, it's money that comes out of the city's budgets. We want to be mindful of that as well.
Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of things require a study in order to do that. So Willakenzie is not a new road. It's an older road. That's part of it's a new road. So then again, and I've had comments to the city about this, is it obviously wasn't sized properly.
Correct.
And the developer should always be responsible to put in infrastructure that matches the community that's being built. Instead, the city doesn't enforce any of that.
So the roads,
One example, one unit sold when you have all these townhomes with one-car garages and families with 4 or 5 cars, you know.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, that when they design these things, they're not 2026 standards. When you see everybody has a car, you know, and they're just not planned. Parking's not planned for any of it. One space per apartment is ridiculous because there's going to be 3 or 4, you know, and then when the rest of the development gets done on Mountain View, you know, there's 300 homes. That, you know, that's 1,000 cars.
I think one concern we have is when we construct. But I don't think we have a formal proposal. We're still working as a neighborhood to try and figure out what is best for everybody.
Brett, has this issue been added to the issues log?
It is not, as the current has not in there. It will be in the log. This came in just while you were, we've talked just last week or earlier this week, I think.
Yeah. just a
Yeah,
few
so
days
it's
ago.
just, it did not in time to be into that log as we were seeing tonight. So it is there to be into the next iteration.
But the city does have a
along with several
process or
others.
so if when traffic concerns do come up, there's a way to get this introduced into the city so it can get starting through the process. So we appreciate your
Yeah.
attending tonight and talking about it. And Brett is really good at taking this down and working at it, working through the process. So,
Well, thank you for having us here.
sure.
Brett, I have a quick question. When a developer comes in and proposes a development like this, does the city restrict the street use for the construction vehicles? So move them off the street of concern over onto, I think Jory Street was the one you mentioned.
So,
So it gets it out of people's way.
so I think I'm kind of got a question. No, not really. The public street is there for the public's use. So once the street is established and it's there, now I will say that with, as mentioned, Kinsey and the way this development sets, Kinsey is a local street that connects from Crestview Drive over to Benjamin Road. Jory Street is designated as the major collector that collects from Crestview Drive, another major collector, or a minor collector, I should say, for Jory to Benjamin Road. So that's really where the bulk of through traffic should be located at, and that happening. That same with the construction traffic there. And what I'm expecting is that while we can't, so my understanding is we can't restrict what streets the driver decides to choose on to drive on as a public street. It'll be encouraged during the builders and that to use the Jory Street as the collector there. Just to kind of indicate, yeah, there are a handful of other locations that have come up in the last few days. It'll be added into the active issues log. One thing that I was going through the log as I was preparing this, I kind of went through kind of the topics of things, because I think that's one of the area things where I think this commission could be helpful too with helping to prioritize items we're looking at on the active issues log as we work through the queue in that. As I indicated in the active issues log and things, there's a fair amount of it's a balancing act of resources, some engineering judgment, where there's an indication of a imminent issue to be addressed, like there's likelihood of a crash occurring or something, versus kind of the general concerns that need to work through the studies and collect data and all of those kind of things. So my thinking was that if there's a way to kind of identify the categories we have are stop sign requests, pedestrian crossing, speeding concerns, traffic in general, and parking. If we can kind of help, if the commission kind of would think of in terms of which of those topics are of concerns for helping to prioritize, I think that'd be a helpful thing that we can feed into the work plan that we have. But I was noticing just in the log where we're at now and outstanding things, there's about the majority of them are pedestrian crossing and speeding concerns. General traffic is just kind of the least amount overall, but that's kind of touches on all the things. And then stop sign requests, we have like 6 in there currently, although I will say there is the one request that came in was a concern of the uncontrolled intersections that exist south of downtown, is to have that looked at as to should there be a grid of local streets or local collectors where there's a defined element of where minimizing the uncontrolled intersections and putting two-way and four-way controlled intersections in some of those. So that's in the log of activities that Keller will be working on as well as things going on. So just wanted to share that additional information.
Is there a plan in place for dealing with the uncontrolled intersections in that part of town?
That's one of the things that's on the log that we're working through. There's two of the locations that Keller is currently working on a report on are uncontrolled intersections that have come to the attention. They're specific locations and they're working through those elements. And what we anticipate is the criteria and their evaluations that they've done there will help to feed to inform should there be more other locations where the uncontrolled intersections are changed to a controlled, either a two-way or a four-way element there. So there's more to come on that as we work through the process.
Thank you.
Continuing on with kind of just information, we're continuing to collect speed data as items come up. I think we only have one area currently that's on the log as that, but we have two or three that are we're continuing to kind of monitor and gather some things up. Then just kind of an update on the Fernwood and Brucher, that pedestrian crossing. Capital Engineering, as I understand it, is moving forward with that to get that installed. And then we had talked about the city manager had asked Keller to take a look at an engineering study at the Brucher Street near the Fairfield Inn. After an initial review of that, that's been stopped. The city manager has not directed them to continue any farther with that. So just for your awareness.
I do know that the city manager is working on looking at a grant project to take a look at some of these issues list and looking for a grant to fund studies for these things. And so I appreciate his efforts in looking at ways to try to resolve some of these things and move them along. So, any questions for engineering? Thanks, Brett. Okay, just under new business. Since the last meeting, I decided to take a look at the different departments and things that we might interface with. For example, the mayor, city manager, police department. Gosh, there's a whole list of, and in your report, you'll see towards the end, kind of a summary of what I learned from my various meetings. What's the second to the last page? Is that what it is? And these particular concerns are not in any particular order, but it's just an idea of what kind of things do the different areas in our city think that are traffic issues that we might be able to work on. So you'll see the talking about the red light cameras, speeding cameras, getting timely reports, which I appreciate again where we're at there. Safety education, providing ideas for the outreach, public outreach. Review, comment on the active issues log. There is, as Russell indicated, there's probably a need to update our transportation safety plan. Maybe that's not the right title, but it's
Maybe you're referring to the transportation system plan.
There you go.
That's one. There is in pursuit of a grant for that as well for some updates.
But it's been a number of years since it's been updated, and
yes,
and hopefully that will allow to take a look at, current population, future population, the infrastructure in place, and what may need to be put in place, and provide some plans for how to deal with those things. And what would be do you have any idea what the time frame might be on that?
I know that there's pursuing a grant, and the idea of what we've been talking about is it would be in the 27, 29 time period at this point. That's what I believe that's where it's at.
In about a year and a half ago or so, we did work on the traffic calming plan, and city council was not interested at that point in that plan. But there's still some points in there that need to be brought up and finalized. I think we talked about some of these things today about what can we do for speeding on city streets and that kind of stuff. And those policies have never been approved by council. And so that's one of the things that I think something to continue to work on. And Brett, if you had a comment on that or.
No, just that's kind of one of the things within kind of the work plan and things, so you can make recommendations to council. That's kind of a key component of this. And that's one of the things that got started some time ago. It went so far under a certain format that could be revisited and looked at a different approach to things than what was done previously, or it can be presented and made as a recommendation to council that then either moves forward from there or does not.
Yeah,
But
I
either
think-
way, you have the ability to identify some things if you'd like to see some changes or things to be done differently.
Yeah, I think what really came out was we need to improve our communication with, among ourselves, but then also within the city to city councilors and other areas on things that we have concerns about or how we can help, budget process, whatever else. I know that up until last budget cycle, there really wasn't any money for traffic concerns. And there is a small pot in there now. We could definitely use more money in there, but on the 2-year budget cycle, I think it's going to be 27 for the next budget or so.
Yeah, the next budget, biennium budget would be 27, 29. We're currently in 25, 27.
School district is concerned about getting high traffic volumes during the opening and closing of the schools. There are also some crosswalk issues that don't seem to be well marked and may need to be updated and repainted and things. Driver education programs. I know that there's some money, there's some state money available for those programs. We pretty much don't have one in Newburgh right now. So there's some discussion about how we might be able to bring that driver education back into the high school and help educate our young drivers. Talked about the speed information on streets and looking for ways to make that more available. Yes.
Thank you. Just want to point out too, that we've been asked as far as the PD to, we've been given the chance to apply for a specialized grant that we were able to obtain last year. It's a high monetary grant. And so if we are granted the money this year, our plan is to buy at least 4 to 5 more radar type units, 2, which would be very small, like he says, trail cams. 99% of the people that see them will have no idea what they are. It looks like a little circle on a post. But then also getting radar cameras and radar trailers that have reader boards and everything like that to help with traffic safety as well. So funding, we're trying to get about $90,000 to purchase 4 or 5 pieces of equipment. So that ties into your bullet there.
Anyway, the idea was to look at what kind of things can we do or how can we help in the city of Newburgh. And so my idea was just, again, bring this list out, to talk among ourselves or talk about, and then hopefully at some future meetings, start to put together a plan for some of these things and how can we, as a traffic safety commission, help with some of these areas. So any questions? A couple key ones I missed. I didn't get to the public works director because he's a new person and his schedule and my schedule did not work in this last month or so. So that's another, I think, a key important person to deal with. And then I did talk to the president of George Fox and they said that they also are interested in getting some input to us and seeing how we can help some of their traffic issues on the city streets they've got there. So, but I think just to, again, raising the awareness of the Traffic Safety Commission, and there are some avenues to deal with traffic issues and hear what's going on and what needs to be done. So I again appreciated the opportunity to meet with people and discuss these things. So any questions or comments or anything? Again, the idea is to think about these things and then let's come back maybe at a July meeting. Maybe it could be out on the agenda to talk about our work plan and what we might look at action items to deal with at that time. Okay. Let's see, where are we?
We would be on to, we actually had it with, as an old business, is continuing to review the work plan as
Okay.
well. That's kind of, if you wanted to move forward with the discussion on that as well and continue with that, or as well as the July meeting. I'm just kind of to kind of briefly go over the current, excuse me. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So the current work plan composes essentially of two parts. One is the operational traffic safety. That's really staff focused. It's the things that we're using the policy guidance and existing codes and laws and things to follow and work through various elements of things, including the active issues log and reporting out on those. The police is gathering crash statistics and other safety data. The maintenance activities are identifying public works maintenance and does their upgrades, updates, and signage and maintaining signage and crosswalk markings and parking markings and all of those, as well as responded to requests for new signage and things that they do. And then public outreach, again, continuing what we spoke on that piece of it. And then the second portion of this is really kind of related to is they've been defined as long range planning. And that goes to the kind of the core purpose and duties of the commission is to provide recommendations to council related to traffic safety programs and elements of things that be done there. The other thing that's not shown in the work plan, but it is something that comes out of this, is there is a provision in there for a general traffic decision that affects a number of areas. That would be a hearing associated to that. So that's some things that have come up in that regard in the past is areas where there is a proposal to take a 2-block section of street and it's a narrow street and put parking only allowed on one side or the other and having a hearing associated with that. So that's just kind of an example of something that has occurred. It doesn't occur very often. That would be part of that piece of it. But then the main focus of this work plan is really on kind of that policy decisions and policy things. We have and what's listed in here is the master plan, the city, various plans within the city that the commission could review and provide recommendations for any updates or things to be done in that, as well as then at the end of the elements there are the change request, the parking change request form or stop sign policy packet, marked crosswalk memo. Those are things that have been prepared in the past. Some of it is probably a little bit outdated, but most of the core information is still very relevant and feeds into how things are addressed on the first portion of this plan, that operational elements. So this is kind of my overview there for you.
Any questions or comments? Yes.
Is there data about the narrow streets and the suggestion of allowing parking only on one side or the other? Is there data concerning accidents or incidents that have led up to that, or is it more just trying to anticipate problems?
What has occurred, the parking change request policy form has kind of some information about parking rules and elements there, and it's a change thing. And what's happened in the past, some of it has been presented of data issues that are going on that aren't being addressed with enforcement issues as well. There's something greater than that, the current code or something. One of the examples is an area where it's not legal to park within 20 feet of a crosswalk. A lot of times that gets violated in enforcement, and some education components can address that. Sometimes then, okay, that's not working. So the signage or the curb painting goes in. And at times it's found or been determined by some residents, and depending on the specifics, maybe that 20 feet isn't enough to actually provide the appropriate sight distance and things, depending on what else is going on. So the things that have come in the past is that rather than 20 feet, it's 40 feet, or it's something that has happened in there. And it's usually site-specific data is collected related to address a concern that's been presented.
So there is data.
There would be data as part of that typically, without, to go into that request of some sort, yes. And it depends on the request and the specific location, what that data would look like.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Again, this is part of this, along with, some of the ideas that you have. I would like to spend a little time in the July meeting to really refine kind of our work plan and then start turning things into an action plan, so. Staff comments.
So the comment that I have is along with thanking all of you for being here tonight and working through all the things that we have is to, at the July meeting, the city manager has agreed or is preparing to present on SDCs. That was a request that was made back in the January meeting. So he's working up I'm assisting him with that, a presentation for that on the SDC system development charges that are charged to development for public infrastructure.
This is a comment. I happened to be at an engineering conference last week over in Central Oregon, and the city of Redmond presented their SDC plan. Wow. Over the next 5 years, there's going to be, I don't know where they're getting all their money. Well, one of the ways they're getting some money, they got the regional airport there, the Redmond Airport, doing a big expansion on there, but they also do the rental car there. Now they have put a surcharge in, and they're collecting like $10 million a year for that they're using for SDCs and stuff like that. So, but yeah, they've got a number of projects, and they don't have the CPRD park situation. They have their own park. They've got some two big major parks they're working on. So I'm not sure. They've got something going over there in Redmond. They have a lot of SDCs with their money they're working with.
That's all, that's what I had to share for that. Yes.
I don't have much. I'm here to listen, and it sounds like we need to expand the airport and collect more SDCs. I don't know if anyone knows the owner of that little landing strip. No, for me, the biggest thing I heard tonight is the deal with waste management. We've already had conversations about better communication and recommendations to the budget committee and things like that. So I'm in full support of that. And I've already sent the email to the mayor about the waste management. So hopefully he'll have a conversation in that meeting. Other than that, I have nothing to report to you.
Thank you. Commissioner comments. Start there, please.
I wonder for future meetings, if it's possible for the Traffic Safety Commission to look towards alternatives for cars, especially with like rising gas prices, like maybe looking for more cycling infrastructure or just anything other than cars as like that to be a viable solution to maybe these traffic problems or these parking problems. Because, that'd be nice. I'm just saying for like future meetings, that'd be nice to talk about that.
Brett, does that kind of fold into the traffic plan?
That would probably be kind of with the transportation system plan component of things, but that doesn't preclude this commission from making some recommendations or some thoughts along that lines of what might feed into that.
Thank you. Yes, go ahead.
I think I don't have any comments, but thank you.
Great. Bet.
I think I talked enough.
I recall that last year, ODOT talked about improving the intersection at Elliott and this is 240, right? 219 and Elliott, where they have a flashing signal now, but they were talking about they had money that they wanted to re-engineer that intersection. Have you heard anything more?
Yeah, so I think what you're referring to is 219 and it's 219 or First Street at Everest.
Everest,
Is
that's
where
it.
yeah.
Thank
So
you.
they do have a projects there for some pedestrian upgrades, as well as they do have what I've been told is they have a project for design and right-of-way acquisition for a compact small roundabout at that location. The traffic signal is not been identified as being warranted, but some ODOT staff has identified a project there. So that is in the system there. I understand that is they got the money for doing the design and right-of-way acquisitions, and we'll see what happens from there.
Thank you.
I guess I just have one comment. I was wondering, you had mentioned Villa Road and Portland Road, the traffic lights, that traffic camera, like producing numbers that were completely unexpected. Would it be possible to see those numbers at the next meeting? Get an idea of them? Because I'm wondering if like maybe you need to upgrade the cameras there and do like the entire intersection.
Yeah, 100%. I'll gladly bring that next time. Not a problem. You want to see from time of, the time they were introduced to now, to the current date when that meeting is? Yeah, no problem. Yep.
I have no further comment. Thank you.
No further comments as well. Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Just one of the suggestion is, there's public comment at the May 18th meeting. And if people have strong feelings about waste management and that whole deal, it'd be nice for people to show up and make some public comment about that.
Thank you. Anything further? With that, meeting is adjourned.